Have you ever found yourself standing in a room full of people and still feeling completely alone? Not because you're shy, not because you're antisocial, but because your mind simply works differently. Maybe you see connections others don't. Maybe conversations that excite you feel boring to everyone else. Or maybe you've spent years feeling like an outsider without really knowing why. If any of this sounds familiar, you might not just be smart, you might be a misunderstood genius. Today, we're diving into the psychology, the neuroscience, and the raw emotional truth behind why highly intelligent people often feel fundamentally different from everyone around them. This is not about IQ scores. This is about the lived experience of having a mind that runs on a completely different frequency. Let's begin with a hard truth. Highly intelligent people often grow up misunderstood because the world is not designed for them. Think about it. Society rewards conformity, straightforward thinking, predictable behavior. But intelligent individuals are wired for complexity, curiosity, and depth. They spend their entire lives trying to express thoughts that many people simply can't process. The result? A lifelong sense of being out of sync. From a young age, gifted individuals notice things others don't. While a typical child might focus on a toy, a gifted child is asking how the toy works, why it was invented, or imagining 10 different ways to improve it. That natural curiosity, instead of being celebrated, often gets dismissed as being difficult or annoying. So, the first misunderstanding begins early. The child learns that their way of thinking is too much for others. And from that point, they start to hold back. As they grow older, that same deep thinking mind becomes even more divergent. Highly intelligent people don't think linearly. They leap. They jump from idea to idea, connecting dots across art, science, psychology, philosophy, sometimes all within the same conversation. A single sentence can spark an entire constellation of thoughts. But when they express these ideas, they're often met with silence, confusion, or polite nods from people who have no idea what they're talking about. Slowly, the genius learns to internalize. Maybe I should stay quiet. Not because they want to, but because expressing their true mind becomes exhausting. But it doesn't stop there. Highly intelligent people also feel different emotionally. Contrary to the stereotype of the cold, hyper-rational genius, many of the world's brightest minds are intensely sensitive. They feel deeply. They think deeply. They question everything, including themselves. This emotional intensity creates another kind of misunderstanding. When they express their concerns, their fears, or their excitement, they're often told they're overthinking, being dramatic, or taking things too seriously. But to a gifted mind, emotions are as complex and layered as ideas. They can't just relax. Their brain wasn't built for autopilot. And then there's the loneliness. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of being unseen. Highly intelligent people crave depth. They want conversations that feel alive. Conversations about meaning, the universe, human nature, ideas that stretch the imagination. But most people are comfortable staying on the surface. So brilliant individuals end up masking their intelligence, pretending to be interested in topics that bore them, and shrinking themselves to fit in. It isn't arrogance, it's survival. This creates what psychologists call the frequency gap. Highly intelligent minds operate at a higher cognitive frequency, faster processing, more intense pattern recognition, richer internal experiences. When they try to connect with someone operating at a different frequency, the conversation feels out of rhythm. They're thinking 10 steps ahead while the other person is still grasping step 1. This mismatch creates frustration for both sides, and eventually the genius starts to feel defective, when in reality they're simply rare. Another reason smart people feel different is because they question what others accept. Tradition, rules, social norms, nothing is taken at face value. The intelligent mind has a built-in need to understand the why behind everything. But in a society that runs on routine and unquestioned structures, asking why can make you look rebellious, strange, or difficult. Throughout history, innovators were often labeled troublemakers before being recognized as visionaries. And many of them spent their entire lives battling the weight of misunderstanding. Take Leonardo da Vinci. His notebooks were filled with ideas centuries ahead of his time: flying machines, anatomy studies, engineering designs. But during his life, he was considered eccentric, unfocused, or odd, Nikola Tesla, one of the most brilliant scientific minds ever, spent his later years isolated and dismissed as a madman. Even Einstein struggled academically as a child because he thought differently from the way teachers expected. The pattern is universal. Society misunderstands the genius before it celebrates the genius. But there's another layer to this misunderstood feeling, an inner world that is often far more vivid, intricate, and overwhelming than the outside world. Highly intelligent people have extremely active imaginations. Their minds are always creating, analyzing, questioning, building. They live in a constant state of mental stimulation. For many, their thoughts feel more real than reality itself. This inner world is a sanctuary, but it can also become a prison. Because the richer the inner world becomes, the harder it is to connect with people who don't share it. This is why so many highly intelligent people prefer solitude. It's not that they dislike people, they simply find more clarity, freedom, and inspiration in their own thoughts. Solitude becomes a source of power. But to outsiders, it looks like isolation, aloofness, or arrogance. Another misunderstanding, another layer of distance. And yet, one of the most painful misunderstandings comes from expectations. Society assumes highly intelligent people have everything figured out. They're expected to succeed easily, adapt quickly, always be strong, always be logical. But intelligence doesn't erase insecurity, anxiety, fear, or confusion. In fact, it often amplifies them. The more aware you are, the more you see what could go wrong. The more you understand, the more you question. The more you observe, the more responsibility you feel. This constant mental intensity leads to burnout, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. But because others assume life is easy for the intelligent, their struggles are often dismissed or minimized. Highly intelligent people also face a unique kind of identity confusion. They often feel like they don't belong anywhere. Too deep for some people, too weird for others, too intense for many, too quiet for most. They constantly oscillate between wanting connection and wanting solitude. They crave understanding but fear vulnerability. They want to be seen but dread being judged. It's a paradox that follows them throughout their lives. Relationships can be especially complicated. The intelligent mind overanalyzes everything: tone, patterns, motives, emotional nuances. They see layers of meaning that others don't. This makes relationships feel fragile, unpredictable, and sometimes overwhelming. And when they try to explain their thoughts or feelings, they're often misunderstood. So they retreat. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much. Yet for all the challenges, there is a hidden beauty in being misunderstood. Genius forces you to walk an unconventional path. It compels you to think independently, to challenge assumptions, to seek meaning where others see none. The very traits that isolate you are the same traits that allow you to create, innovate, lead, and transform. So here's the truth that every misunderstood genius needs to hear. You feel different because you are different. And that difference is not a flaw, it's an asset. The world has always been shaped by people who didn't fit in. People who felt like outsiders. People whose minds refused to stay silent. If you've ever felt misunderstood, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not alone. You simply think on a level that is rare, and rarity often comes with loneliness. But it also comes with brilliance, depth, creativity, and potential that most people will never experience. And one day, someone will understand you. One day, you'll find your tribe. People who speak your language, who thrive in depth, who don't fear intensity, who don't shrink from complexity. People who make you feel at home in your own mind. Until then, embrace your difference. Because the misunderstood genius is always the one who changes the world.